T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have history in the making here. The price of silver has closed the week at almost $48 an ounce, which is in fact a new all-time high, because although it was briefly traded above this price both in 1980 and 2011, it has never managed to close a week this high. We've also just had an all-time quarterly close, when silver ended the last trading day of September at $46.6 an ounce. Closing prices are important because there are many traders and asset managers across the world who are looking specifically at these numbers. They won't step into this market until they are fully convinced that silver is breaking out to new all-time highs. With each new record, more of them are willing to come off the fence and join this spectacular rally. We are now within spitting distance of the intra-day all-time high of $50 an ounce, and if we manage to cross it, the last doubters will have no choice but to admit their mistake and buy some silver. On this momentous occasion, I would like to play you a short clip from an interview which I gave to Ron's basement almost 2 years ago. Listen carefully, because it will teach you an important principle in investing.
Well, so you made a trip to the bullion dealer and you had some interesting observations, I understand.
Yeah. Well, last week after we finished our interview, I bought the dip like a good stacker is supposed to do. And a few days later, I went to go visit the guy and pick up a few ounces, only a few ounces that I bought. And I always talk to the person. I try to understand what he thinks about the market in general. And I should point out, this is the guy who usually deals with collectibles. But this time he had like really big sale and had some silver coins which were, modestly priced and had good value. So I took advantage of the opportunity. But what I was absolutely amazed was just how negative he was about the price of gold and silver in general. I mean, like, this is a guy, okay, he deals mainly with collectibles. I understand that. And he tries to capture, the premium of collectible coins. But he was so negative. I mean, like, he wouldn't even hear. He wouldn't let me even explain why I believe that the price of gold and silver is destined to rise. And he wouldn't hear of it. It was just amazing. And I couldn't help but thinking that, sometimes, although it's anecdotal, but stuff like that, sometimes it's a contrarian indicator. I mean, like, it shows you that the sentiment is so low, it's so bad. If even the guys who deal with gold and silver are so pessimistic that maybe we're close to a bottom. This clip was recorded in February of 2024. As you can see from the chart, this was exactly when the price of silver bottomed and the current rally started. How could I possibly know it back then? How could I predict it so accurately? Am I some sort of a genius? No, I'm not. No one has a crystal ball, and no one can tell the future. But there are certain indicators that you yourself can follow, and one of them is the market sentiment. Back in early 2024, the sentiment regarding silver was absolutely abysmal. Although it is a valuable commodity which is in short supply, and although inflation was raging at the time, its price seemed to be going nowhere. Even the greatest precious metals bulls were demoralized and willing to throw in the towel. This is what we call a contrary indicator. It occurs when everyone has already sold the asset in question and there is no one left to sell. Therefore, there are only buyers in this market, and the price must change direction and rise. A similar thing can happen during market tops. When an asset has been rallying for a prolonged period of time and everyone is certain that the price can only go up, there comes a point in which there is no one left to buy, and therefore the price must fall. In other words, when things become too extreme, the market tends to move in the opposite direction of the sentiment. This is why most people fail to time the market correctly. Since they are driven by sentiment rather than by facts, they are always too late to buy an undervalued asset and to sell an overvalued one. What about silver right now? What is the market sentiment telling us about the future price of silver? Well, I'm afraid that the current situation isn't as clear-cut as it was in early 2024. On one hand, the price of silver has more than doubled since then, and according to various momentum metrics, it is extremely overbought. This would suggest that it needs to go through a correction and work out these overbought conditions. The all-time high of $50 an ounce seems like the natural place for such a correction to occur. This is where sellers are likely to emerge, looking to capitalize on the uncertainty and doubt surrounding silver's price. But on the other hand, silver is still regarded as an esoteric asset, which very few people own. Although it is traded near an all-time high, it is hardly mentioned on the news, and very few asset managers are recommending it to their clients. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is once again cutting interest rates, fanning the flames of inflation and creating more demand for hard assets. Silver is in its fifth year of a physical deficit, which due to its strange market structure is unlikely to be resolved anytime soon. And lest we forget, the banks are still sitting on a huge short position, which by now is deep underwater. There's a good chance that this time the demand for silver, both from new investors entering the market and shorts needing to unwind their positions, will overwhelm any resistance at the $50 level, and that the price will simply go on flying into the stratosphere. Sentiment be damned. So if you don't own any physical silver, now is perhaps a good time to get some, before things get really crazy and it becomes unavailable. And if you do own some, hold on to it and don't let go. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and I cannot give you any investment advice. But it seems to me that right now, the chances of silver continuing its trajectory to the moon are greater than the chances of it falling back to the ground. Nothing in life is certain, but I can guarantee you one thing, that my personal money is on silver. Thank you for listening to the Silver Hermit podcast. If you like this content, please donate in the link which appears in the description below. Please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends and family. Hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video. Remember, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. This video is intended for general informational purposes only and should not be regarded as investment advice. Before taking any investment decision, please consult with a professional financial advisor who may assess your personal investment objectives and needs.